All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Please sit down. Or stand up, or whatever you want to do. I'm going to tell you. Do we have anybody here that did Western other than Max?
Oh, you mean this year?
Yeah, this year. Nobody else? No David Lamb didn't show up today? Okay. All right. You ready to go? Is everybody ready to do this?
Yeah!
All right, let's go. Let's give it a try here. My name's Leo. I am lucky enough to manage this store. So thanks for coming out. Western States. How many people here actually went up for the weekend? Or yeah, amazing. It was so great. We saw so many amazing things, such as that last finisher, which was crazy. I would like to say that this podcast has just been really inspirational for us. We've been learning so much about different community members, and really looking forward to hearing from Max Kam today. What is it, three days after your finish at Western States? So super fresh in mind and body. Even have some shoes I can still sort of smell in there, so that's great. So yeah, thank you for making this possible. And of course, I had this idea a while ago when I started, and Helki Ramos is right over there. She really put a lot of life into this. And of course, Ted running this place, and oh, hello, David. Another finisher. So we were so fortunate to have Runners of the Bay come in and facilitate this live podcast. Mimi and Bridget are so amazing, and they're really going to help pull a story out of Max today, and it's going to be great. The next one of these we're going to do, which will be July 26th, will be with Jessie Goldstein, who's right here. You can't see her, but I can. She is, an amazing community member, and really was instrumental in helping with a huge crew of volunteers to make this Western States possible with trail work this year. So thank you so much for that. I'd like to have, before I kick this off to Runners of the Bay, I'd love to have David Lamb and Max Kam just come up in front of the camera and give them a round of applause for their You guys, really amazing. You can walk. You're still walking. Yeah, great work. You guys, I'm so proud of you, and really an inspiration. So thanks for everything you do and being such a champion for the sport. Yeah. All right, I'd like to pass this over now to Runners of the Bay, to Bridget and Mimi, and come up here and pull a story out of this guy, because I can't wait to hear what he went through. All right. So.
All right. All the runners are still standing.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Leo. Thanks for everyone for being here. We are stoked for this. Max, how are you standing?
How am I standing? It's not that hard to stand, I guess.
It was right after
It's the moving around is the difficult part.
Yeah.
What was the most difficult part after the race? Was it the getting up, getting down, walking down the stairs, just breathing?
Ooh, after the race. I think it was just trying to stand up. Like, I had really, it wasn't like really bad pain in my left knee, but it was enough to get me to hobble pretty much the last 15 to 22 miles of the course. So after I finished, my crew got me to a chair, and then after that, couldn't really get up. They literally had to help me up and carry me out, because for some reason I couldn't put any weight on my left foot or leg.
I think there's some good reasons.
Yeah.
What was the immediate feeling when you crossed that finish line?
I don't know. It was relief. I think it's just relief that it was done. Definitely a lot different than what I had experienced at the start. It was just I think it was half a minute before the gun went off. It was just pure excitement and joy. I was like, it was finally here. 6 months after the lottery and going through everything I went through during those 6 months with training and not training, and then having to ramp back up again. Yeah, been a wild ride for sure.
So let's go back 6 months to the lottery. What is that day like? Were you there in person? Did you think you had a chance?
I mean, going into the lottery, nobody ever thinks they have a chance, like no matter how many tickets you have, unless you have like 128 tickets or 64 tickets, like then you think that's a high probability. But I had gone to the lottery like, I want to say like the previous 2 or 3 years at least, and it was just like always disappointment every time. And you think like going to the lottery, being present there, you got an extra chance because they do like a drawing at the end for 3 more people. So it's like, okay, I get like another chance possibly, but even then it's like no. So yeah, when I heard my name this time around, I was just beyond ecstatic. I was so surprised. I had no idea that was gonna happen. I was, at least before the start of the race, like probably the happiest day of my life. Getting in Western States.
Where are you in the queue? How many names have been called? Like, how long have you been sitting there? Like, what is that environment like in that room?
I think I was like 184th, and they had called, 250 something people. So pretty like well in. It was like more than halfway in, for sure. But yeah, when I heard, like I was just paying attention to the person announcing. I didn't even look around. I was just like, I heard 16 tickets. I heard San Rafael. I was like, oh my god. I'm like, I hope that's me. And then when I heard my name, I was like, oh. And then when I looked back at the live stream later, like they had a video of the whole stage and everything, and Jessie was actually on stage volunteering, and really funny story there. She had like put her hands up to kind of like yawn, is what I'm gonna go with, but apparently I think she saw my name pop up, so
I may have yelled something out.
I didn't even hear it through the live stream if you yelled something
I swear
out.
to God, not trouble, but.
But yeah, it's just beyond ecstatic and overjoyed.
Is there any part of you that's thinking kind of, oh shit, like now I have to do it?
That's what I was thinking.
So that actually hit me, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks after that.
Okay.
Yeah. That was kind of when I was like, okay, I gotta put something together, I gotta start training, and I did start training and trying to put some miles in, put some base in, and it was going somewhat pretty well for like January, February, like even March. I put in like a bunch of miles, like I think I put in like 3, on average like 70-mile weeks in a row, and then at the end of March, I don't know, for some reason my right knee got really swollen, and then I was pretty much like knocked out for the next like 2 or 3 weeks, like pretty much like 2 weeks of no activity. I couldn't even like walk around the house, could barely walk around the house, so it's just like immense pain. And then like even during that time I went to get an x-ray, I went to get an MRI, like nothing showed up with like no fractures, nothing torn, but just like a lot of fluid in the knee. So not sure like what happened there, but like I just pretty much had to wait for that to go away. And then probably around the end of April, I started to do some physical therapy work, doing some stretches, strengthening, and then like right around that time was when I could actually start running again. So it was kind of like starting from zero. It was pretty much like starting from zero. I don't think I started from zero like that ever. Like I'd run in like middle school and high school and kept like a somewhat base level of fitness, and even like after college, I didn't run in college, but like even after that I still had some muscle memory, but this was kind of a first. It was like just absolute nothing. Like I knew I had lost something for sure. So it was a long journey to build back up. I built up slowly, but tried to be smart about it, and then actually made it to a training camp weekend, which was Memorial Day, so like a month after I had started running, and that was such a relief to actually experience that and be able to put in some big miles. Yeah.
How do you deal with this mentally? So your knee starts bothering you. Do you run on a swollen knee, or are you like, I have to pull the plug now, and then how do you cope?
I had to pull the plug.
Yeah.
Like, if I couldn't even walk around the house, like barely walk around the house, like there was no way I could even go outside to run. And luckily my work allowed me to work from home, so I was pretty fortunate with that and able to work from home and not have to take any time off. But definitely time off from running and trying to get the swelling down.
Was there any part of you that said, maybe this isn't gonna happen?
I think as soon as that happened, there was a small possibility. I hadn't counted it out. I did count out a bunch of the other races that I had signed up for in that time frame, but that was definitely the smart thing to do because I wasn't ready for any of those races that I had signed up for. I had signed up for Boston, I had signed up for Miwok 100K and Quicksilver 100K to try to prepare for states, but yeah, like the timing didn't work out with the recovery, so it was definitely a good decision to not start those races. And I had the advice of my friends too, like they were like, no, don't do it. Just focus on states and getting better. So
Yeah, you've got a good group advising you.
Yeah. So this wasn't your first 100 miler. You've done quite a few. But this is kind of your first big entry. So like what was kind of the intention going into the training cycle? You're thinking like, this is Western, this is maybe what we would call like an A race, this is the big show.
Yep.
And so I would imagine that you kind of are thinking about your training cycle based on all the previous times, and then you have to pivot. Like, what was kind of the intention, and then we kind of know what it looked like, but.
Yeah, I mean, I had some base mileage for sure, and having done 100 milers in the past, I knew mentally like what I had to do to get through. It's just that this time around I wanted a time goal. Well, I wanted a time goal with all the other ones too, but just trying to put in as much as I could without overdoing it, and just being smart with where I was and trying to be present. I was just thinking to myself, okay, this is what you have. If it goes well, great. If it doesn't, like, you still got here, and yeah, it was just be grateful, it's honestly like a privilege to even do that, and to have that happen to me and try to come back in like less than 2 months. Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, spoiler alert, you did it. You have But before we get to that day, let's take it back. You mentioned you have a long history with running. So tell us a little bit about what brought you to running.
To running in general. So I probably started running as a sport like in middle school, so around like 6th grade. And before that, it was just like, I wasn't really into sports or anything. Like recess time, you just like play tag or whatever. So I was somewhat decent at that, I guess.
That's
And-
how we all figure it
Yeah.
out.
Tag is the gateway drug.
Actually, like,
And then I was living in San Francisco. I grew up in San Francisco, so public transportation was a big thing. We didn't have a car until much later, and so I would take the bus everywhere. And for those of you that live in the city and take Muni, you know how unreliable Muni is. And so anytime like a bus would leave or like come like too early or something, like I would have to chase it. So that was kind of my motivation to like start running and try to be fast enough to even like chase the bus and get on the bus.
Wait,
So-
have you ever done the trolley like chase race in the
The
city?
cable car chase?
Yeah.
I haven't actually.
Yeah,
I don't know if they still have
Yeah,
that.
you gotta do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I started running track in middle school. I did cross country and track in high school. I went to Lowell High School. So the coach that coached me also coached my older sister who was there like 5 years before. And I think he's still coaching now. He's probably been coaching since probably before I was born. So yeah, been a really long journey for sure. Like that's kind of, high school was probably when running was definitely more of a big thing for me and started to like build more mileage there. But even then I hadn't heard about like anything longer than, let's say, beta breakers. Like marathons, like maybe the half marathon or like a full marathon, but I hadn't really like wrapped my head around that yet. It was only, I want to say, I think it was like 2011 when I landed my full-time job that I picked up running again. Actually, Javi introduced me to some of the trails around here, and so we picked up that bug, started running some shorter races, and then that kind of evolved into longer races when we met more people that did like ultras and like triathlons, and then that circle of friends just grew from there.
what was the first race longer than Beta Breakers, which I think is what, like a
12K.
12K that you signed up for?
Just barely cracking that is, I want to say, is the double dipsea. So that's like 14 miles. Actually, that's a little bit bigger, but whatever.
But it's not your average road race. It's not
Yeah,
like,
for
it's like,
sure.
I feel like there's a adjusted
Yeah.
length for the double dipsea.
Yeah.
Well, I was stalking your ultra signups in preparation for this.
So
and
Bridget knows the answer to this question.
I'm pretty sure, like, one of your first trail races was a 50K, because I remember thinking, like, all right, just jump right in. Like, you know, you're not even doing a trail marathon, you're just
Yeah.
hopping
So
right into the big one.
it's kind of funny because they used to have the double dipsea on ultra sign up, but for some reason it got taken off.
Huh.
So yeah, technically double dipsea was my first trail race, but now it just shows North Face 50K.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that actually was my first ultra and my first marathon. I did the San Francisco Marathon in 2014, so after that one.
So you went down in distance,
A little bit.
like all the greats do. So what was that first 50K like?
Hard, it was hard. I had no idea what I was in for. Like I had looked at Strava's of like all the, I guess like some of the fast runners. And I was like, oh, 7-minute pace doesn't seem that bad. I had no idea that that 7-minute pace was also very hilly, and having just seen trails in Marin like really recently, I had no idea that it was that hard. Because I was still living in the city at that time. I actually moved up to Marin in 2014 to try to like get away from like traffic and like I guess the lack of trails there. Yeah. I forgot what else I wanted to
No,
say.
just your experience at the first 50K. Hard.
It was
Thinking
hard.
you could maybe run 7-minute pace, but
Yeah, I probably went out a little bit too hard. Nutrition, I probably didn't have a clue. Like I had some clue, but it probably wasn't enough. But I don't know, I still managed to finish pretty well, I guess. Yeah. But after that, that was definitely one of the bigger lessons. I'd say the bigger lesson that I learned was my second 50K that I ran. I want to say it's my second, either my second or my third, I forget which one. But it was the Overlook Endurance Run 50K in 2014. That was the first time that they had run that race, and it was like 110 degrees in the canyon. And all I had on me was a handheld water bottle. So I definitely learned a hard lesson that day.
Yeah, I hope they had plenty of aid stations. That's
I think there were like 4.
Oh, man.
That's not enough.
Yeah.
So when does your awareness of Western, are you aware of Western states at this time? Like, and when do you start putting your name in the lottery?
That was, I want to say that was like 2017 is the first time I put my name in the lottery. The year before that, I think that's when I started to meet people that had actually done hundreds. And so that was kind of how it got started for me. And a bunch of us actually did Rio de Lago in 2017 to try to get a ticket for States. Yeah.
You've done a mix
Actually, you walk too, I guess, but
of faster stuff, like you did CIM, I think just last
Mhm.
just last year, and obviously you're doing the hardest of the hard hundreds. So like, how do you think about those two types of races? How do you approach them? What gets you excited?
they're definitely different approaches for sure. A road marathon versus like a 50, 60, 100 mile ultra. With ultras, I feel like I don't have to focus on speed as much and less road running, and definitely more time on my feet, more time on the trails. Whereas with road running, I feel like I have to focus on a certain pace and a certain amount of road that I can take for
How do you-
training.
Yeah, how do you balance that in training? Is it like, this is my road running season, this is my trail season?
I try to do both. I try to run on, I try to run on gravel for most of the time. Road, not as much, just because it just beats me up so bad. But when I have to do those long runs on road, I'll do it. I try to like space them out, probably a bit further than I should have this year, but yeah, that's usually how I go into it. I'll do like maybe 1 or 2 road workouts before a marathon and just call it there. Yeah.
How do you approach a marathon mentally versus, let's say, a 50K or a 100 miler?
Oh, it's so much easier.
So,
Because you're done in like 3.5 hours, and all I have to do for a road marathon is like, okay, I'm gonna eat a gel every half hour, I'm gonna grab water at the water station, and take some salt, and that's it. For an ultra, I actually have to plan out like, okay, how much am I gonna eat? What am I gonna eat? How fast or slow should I be taking like certain sections of a course? What other supplies do I need to bring? Like if it goes into the night, or if it starts like early in the morning, do I need a headlamp? Do I need extra clothes? Do I need layers? Like that sort of thing. Just a lot more logistically complex, I would say. For road marathon, it's just like pretty easy, just singlet, shorts, maybe like a belt to like hold gels or something, and maybe like a hat or a visor, and bring your bib, that's it. Put your running shoes on.
it's a good attitude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember
How
that.
does it feel to blow up at a trail race versus a marathon? Have you ever blown up at a marathon? Like truly blown up? 'Cause I have.
Somewhat, I guess. Not as bad as other people, I would say. Like, I think Santa Rosa, when I did Santa Rosa was that last year? I think it was last year. That was probably the one or maybe a few times that I felt like I had blown up and gone out too fast, but my pace, like, it didn't suddenly just like dip, like it was kind of a slow metering down.
You died a slow death?
A little bit, yeah.
Been there.
It didn't help that the last 4 miles of that race was uphill.
Yep.
Even though it kind of felt flat, but when you look at the profile later, it was like,
It's tricking you. It smells flat.
right.
How do you approach goal setting for a marathon versus a trail race? Like, are you more focused on breaking, or achieving a certain time in a road marathon, or is the focus more on time or place on trails?
For the most part, it's just time. I don't think I have the status maybe to try to place at a race. Like that's probably one of the last things I think about. Yeah, usually I just like go for time, try to get a decent time, and just go out there, execute, do what I can. And then if I place in like age group or whatever, I'm like, it's cool. That's just a pretty sweet bonus on top of it. Yeah.
So we talk a lot about community and this wonderful SFRC community and the greater running community in the Bay Area. You mentioned that Javi introduced you to some trails. But as a lifelong San Franciscan, what did it look like to become part of this community, and how did you really get involved with SFRC?
In terms of the community, I would say it was kind of a slow growing process. Like I'm not particularly social, so I don't make friends very often, and that's come kind of slow for me. So that process has taken a long time, and then for the SFRC part, I would say that's actually kind of recent. Within, I want to say like the last 6 to 8 months or so. But it's definitely been a really big blessing to like know so many people that share what you do, and you also like and share like what they do. Like it's really awesome to like hang out with awesome like-minded people that motivate you, and like it's just mutual, that motivation and everything.
I think you have some friends that are wearing shirts. I mean, so Team Max, the
Max
machine.
Machine.
Oh,
Max Machine. That's his nickname.
okay.
If you wanna ask
I mean,
why
if
he
you,
does.
yeah, I was about to. I was also gonna say, like, if you have people making shirts for you, you got a lot of friends.
That was definitely the best surprise.
That might be something I aspire to in life.
Alright, noted.
We'll make you a shirt.
Thank you. Okay, great. Hopefully it's for like something I do that's cool, not just
Not Mr. States.
not, maybe tell us about the machine nickname.
I don't even know how that came about. Like somebody else came up with that one. I don't know if that was because of how much racing I did in 2018 and like 2022 that came about, or something. I don't know.
I remember before I met you, Javi, as he said, oh, my friend Max Machine is coming to a run. And I'm like, oh, what's
The
this?
machine.
And he comes out in these little tiny shorts and big quads and just like super fast. Anyway, that's how I remember it.
You're just like a machine, you just get it done.
And he
Or
would
just
do
get
like an Ironman, then an ultra, then a road, like he would do it
Within
all.
like a month or
Like,
two.
like
Yeah.
just one every weekend, something.
Yeah.
So,
An endurance machine.
We
That was
didn't
a bad month
we
of
haven't even
April.
gotten into triathlon.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to Western States.
So that's where it was, right?
So, those triathletes, they can go.
They're a different breed for sure.
No shade. I just don't know how to ride a bike outside, so I'm like, oh, I don't know. let's get back to Western State. So you mentioned that the day of the lottery is the happiest day of your life. And then you said, we were chatting before we started, you got about 20 minutes of sleep the night before, or maybe
More
an
or
hour.
less, yeah.
20 minutes, an hour.
That's what it felt like, 20 minutes.
So let's go back to that night before. What's going through your mind? What's
Oh.
keeping you awake?
Everything. Like, I don't know, a lot of anxiety. Basically, my heart was just beating out of my chest, and I couldn't get myself to calm down. Like, I'd done everything I could. I ate. I did. I didn't run too much that week or last week. And yeah, like I don't usually sleep early, so I think I probably like went to bed at 10 and just kind of rolled around. It just basically like one big kind of like brain fog, but like everything just like going at once is what it felt like. So not really like one specific thing that kept me up. It's just like just all the activity that had gone into that week. Yeah.
Is it nervousness, like running through lists, like do I have everything, or is it more like I'm anticipating difficult parts that I won't be able to finish? Like, what's the nature of the anxiety?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that. It's just being faced with the unknown. Like I had run parts of the course on training camp weekend, but even then it was just like, okay, I'm still unsure about the parts that I did run, and then I'm definitely unsure about the parts I did not run. And so I didn't know like what that was going to be like, even with like, yeah, even with like some reports that some of the course markers did. So yeah, like it's just everything everywhere going at once, and just like bouncing around in my head, and yeah.
So you get to the start, you haven't really slept, you're amped, the gun goes off, it's go time. What are you thinking about? How are you feeling?
Just go, just tunnel vision all the way, pretty much, and try to make sure I see people, I guess. Yeah, and try to like take in some of the surroundings when I can. But yeah, it's pretty much like go time. Just do what I can. Don't go too hard, but don't go too easy either. And yeah, just make sure I stick to my plan, stick to my nutrition plan, and be prepared for like heat or anything else, and just try to get in and out of the aid stations and minimize that time just standing there. Yeah.
How did you have a lot of your crew here in this room, how did you pick who was going to be with you, and like what do you look for, what do you want to hear at different points throughout the race?
That is such a hard question. How did I pick my crew? Oh man.
Did the crew pick you?
Is it like, I didn't do this, but is it like when you pick a bridesmaid and you like send them a box and it's like, will you be on my crew? We're gonna make that a thing. I did not do that.
Somebody did. I saw somebody's Strava had a picture of like invitation cards of like, will you be my crew? But no, that didn't.
Proposals, yeah, there we go.
True proposals.
Yeah.
No, it was pretty easy for me to pick my crew because like we had run together a lot, and they know me, and I know like I know them, like I know what they're capable of, and like how like they've dealt with hondos, and like part of that like just having the experience, and then the other part is like, okay, I definitely want these people here because like they've been close to me, and like they're really important to me, so I want them to share in this experience for sure.
What was the plan? Like when you're going through aid stations and people are helping you, and then when you're picking up pacers, were you saying, here's what I want, here's what I need, here's what I want to hear while we're running together, or was it more organic?
A little bit of both. Like I had laid out like instructions at aid stations. I'm like, okay, this is what I need. This is what I think I might need. I'll have this here just in case, but if I don't need it, that's fine. And that was like for stuff that I had at aid stations. And luckily I had actually packed extra things because like, I think it was at Rucky Chucky that it actually didn't quite work out, but like my crew made it work. Like I still got what I needed when I got there, so that actually worked out really well. In terms of like what to say to me, I that was pretty much like organic. Like I left it up to them to do that. Like they knew from previous experience like what to do and what not to do.
What do you like hearing, and what are like, what are things you don't want to hear?
I would say I'd like to hear like just keep going, and like really simple commands like, yeah, keep going, like don't sit too long, or like get up, go, like anything that I can process in like a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then like if they're telling me stories, then I'll just respond with like one-word answers.
I like when people tell me stories.
Yeah.
Get my mind off things.
Yeah.
So take us through life in a day. Like, what are the things that really stand out to you as you look back?
There were a few things that definitely stood out. When I got to the top of the escarpment, I was like almost mile 4. Like there's just so many people up there, and even like before I got to the very top, I could see the big crowds, and the crowds had like they got bigger as you got closer to the top. Like there were still people like on the side of the mountain too, and that was super awesome to see them up there. Like they had gone up before the sun rose, and it was like snowy and icy up there, and yet they were still up there to cheer like everybody on. And then like getting to the first aid station where crew was allowed, like that was a pretty high point too. Like I saw a couple of my crew there, and like we worked through like what I needed, and they got me out like really quick. That was actually the first glimpse of when I saw the shirt, but I was so focused on like trying to get everything I needed that I didn't have time to say what I wanted. And so when I got to Michigan Bluff later in the day, like that's when I saw like the rest of the crew, and I was like, oh my god, you guys are the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I don't know, I mean, when I slowed down at night, that was probably one of the lows, but Javi paced me through the last 22 miles, and he kept me going. So it wasn't like terrible or anything. It was actually like really nice too, because like even though we would get passed by other runners and like their pacers, like I felt like for the first time that I'd done 100 miles, like I wasn't actually by myself at night. Because before this, I had never used a crew, and I had never used a pacer.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
Yeah. So I knew before this race, even before like the lottery, like if I ever got into this race, I would definitely have a crew and pacers. Yeah.
So last time we were here, Carolyn and her lovely mom Sharon were telling us about trail etiquette with horses at the Tavis Cup. So what's the trail etiquette? You mentioned getting past, like especially at night. Do people just call out, like do you move to the side, like?
Usually you can hear them already, so, and I definitely got passed a bunch of times, even during the day too. So whenever like I heard somebody coming up behind me, I would just like announce like, yeah, just let me know when you want to pass, and like they would announce like when they would, wherever, like left or right, whatever, whenever it was safe. So I'd say trail etiquette is pretty good. Like I didn't have a bad experience with that. Like there wasn't like any like bowling or anything like that.
Like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that your knee started to hurt, so I'm assuming it was the same knee, or was it something different?
It was the other knee.
It was the other knee.
Yeah.
So that's really why we don't understand what happened.
Yeah, what I'm guessing is that all the physical therapy I'd done on my right leg, I
Classic.
probably forgot to do for the left leg when I first started it, and I only started on my left leg maybe like 3 weeks ago. This was like maybe like the third phase of the physical therapy. So I think by that time it was probably too late to try to build any strength, because I thought like it was fine, because like it wasn't hurting and I was walking fine with it, even during the time I was out, like I was putting weight on it and everything, but I guess not, I don't know.
So when that starts to happen, what's going through your mind? Are you thinking just get to the end? Are you worried about not meeting the cutoff? Like, how are you pushing forward?
Getting to the end is definitely the main goal. I would say anytime goal that I had was definitely slowly getting away from me, and so that was something that I had to let go for sure. It's not the first time that's happened, so I wasn't too worried about that. It is a little frustrating to have to watch the sunrise again and you're still not finished, but it is what it is. Like, I basically only did have maybe 7 or 8 weeks of training, and just had to be grateful for where I was and just make it to the finish. Like, I knew probably by like mile 85 or so, like, all right, I'm just gonna walk this in, and I'll try to do the best that I can. And then, yeah, when I rounded the last curve on the track, I saw the clock. It was reading like 25:59. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for it. Like, time was not priority at that point, but since I was that close anyway, I'm like, it's only like 70 meters away.
Machine mode.
So I was watching the live stream, and they show people entering the track, and it's what, like 250 meters around the track or something like that?
250, 300.
That looks
or
like
so.
the longest 250 or 300 meters ever.
Hmm.
I'm like, man, that's awful.
At least it's flat.
At least it's flat. But what's that like? Like, are you just taking it all in? I mean, you're trying to like, pick it up, but when you get to that track, what's that has to feel almost as good as crossing the finish line.
Yeah, definitely feeling of jubilation, relief. Like, at that point, it's like, okay, the only thing preventing you is if you trip yourself and roll on the track or something like that, or something catastrophic. But by that point, it's like, you're on nice even ground, like there's no excuse, like just go and enjoy the moment. And honestly, I think I don't know if it was like going through the night or having been at altitude, like I wasn't really hearing very well, so I wasn't really listening to like what the announcer was saying. Like, I was just focused on just getting myself across that line. Yeah.
You did. What an amazing moment. Like, when you look at that belt buckle, when you look at those shoes, like, does it feel real, or does it still feel like, are those really mine? Did I really do that?
It might take me another like few days to even like question that, but yeah, I mean, it's all here. The evidence is all here.
It's about 3 days later, so I would imagine your body still feels like it's real. How are you feeling today?
Much better. I feel like my sleep is slowly coming back to normal. My appetite is slowly going back to normal. Like, the last couple of days have just been like wild swings of like, oh, I'm super hungry, and then when I eat, I'm like, oh, I don't want to eat that much.
No one likes to eat right after a hard race, and I can only imagine how you felt right after Western, but like, what was the first most satisfying thing that you got down?
I would have to say it was the bowl of pho at 3 p.m. after the getting my buckle.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good, that's good. Yeah, salty, savory,
Yeah.
yeah, full of all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We have a room full of amazing people, so I wanna make sure that, they have a chance to ask you some questions or give us stories that we should be asking him, embarrassing all, all of the good stuff. So, does anybody have any questions for Max?
I have like the same one that I asked everybody. So what, and maybe we know what the answer is, but what was the most meaningful race to you, or what do you feel like race had the most significant or your most favorite race you've ever done? Any kind of race.
What was my most favorite race or
Or like most
meaningful?
memorable, or just like that you're most proud of. You can pick whichever adjective.
Most memorable or most or favorite.
Recency bias.
I know, right? You know, like, it's like, what's that other
And
bias
it's
called?
okay,
When it's like,
a triathlon's allowed, like, that's okay. One of those, that's fine.
I don't know, Beta Rickers wasn't even that great. I don't know.
This is a big
What-
area running.
What were you dressed as?
I don't know, I wasn't really dressed as anything. I just wore like I wore a really bright singlet and like really bright shorts and like
That's like
Pink.
normal, but that's
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
So he came as himself. Okay.
as a highlight.
Sorry, Jesse.
What if you were not expecting that happen there?
Mm.
What was I not expecting to
Yeah,
happen there?
but from the race, like you studied the course and everything, you had like what you wanted in the 8 stations and everything, but like what's something, oh my gosh, what is this here? I did not imagine that it was here or something like this.
This knee?
It's like the your TikTok.
You knew you had to cross a river, right?
Yeah, I knew I had to cross a river. I knew there were stream crossings. Going back to Jesse's question, I mean, it would have to be this race in Western States, like, no doubt about it. Like, everything else I had done basically solo. So, to have so many people, to have a crew, to have pacers is just nothing short of special. What was the question again? Like, what was the unexpected part?
Yeah.
The unexpected part, I would say, was having to slide on my butt in the snow. Like that, they say like, don't try anything new on race day. Yeah, no. Throw that out the window. Like, you will have to try something new on race day, especially if it's an ultra. And sliding on my butt in the snow was definitely something I had to do to make sure I didn't like injure myself or anything. Yeah. Like, I had saw pictures of like people sliding in the snow on Broken Arrow the
Yeah,
week before.
yeah.
And I was like, I wasn't expecting to do that, but it happened. So, yeah.
So you've qualified for the 2024 race now. Are you
Yes!
Are you gonna
Of course I am.
So you will run, if you were picked again, you would run it.
Oh yeah,
100%.
You wanna run it with a non-injured knee.
for sure. Yeah. I'll definitely be smarter about my training this time.
So during the race, when anything came up or something went kind of wrong, you might say, or was unexpected, how did that affect you mentally? Like, did it bring you down? Was there anything that you had kind of planned to like be able to deal with that? How did it affect you?
I would say that it didn't really affect me that much because I actually had prepared kind of like an extra drop bag for the crew just in case like something happened to my own drop bag at a specific aid station. And I would say like even like the drop bag situation at Robinson Flat and Forest Hill, at least for those to begin with, like that was Robinson Flat definitely for sure. Like I wasn't expecting that I had to grab my own drop bag to give to my crew so that they could like do what they needed to do. But I mean, it is what it is. Like, just roll with the punches and just go and do what you have to do. Yeah. So I would say like that wasn't too big of a deal. I just wish I kind of knew that beforehand, so I could have prepared better. Yeah. I saw Oscar's hand go first.
If there's something you can change from what happened last weekend, what would it be? Whether it's pacers, crews, race day, I know your body, your knee and stuff, but what would it be like in general?
If I could change something from last weekend. I mean, yeah, definitely having more training going into it would have been great. But I have overtrained before. I have not tapered well before, and that has also bitten me in the butt. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like a better ice pack for my head. Because I had to actually kind of come up with something on the fly to try to keep my head cool, but not too cold. Like I had it draped over my neck, and it was at one of the points it was like just a big bag of ice there, and it literally almost, I don't know if it like gave me frostbite or anything, but it was like super cold. So I'm like, nope, this isn't gonna work. So I tried something else, and I like put the thing on my head, and that actually helped a lot. In terms of changing something, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you just have to go with it and just try to make do with what you have. I mean, too late to change anything now to the past.
I'm just curious, what was your goal time that you had?
Under 24 hours, anything under 24. But I guess I'll save that for another day.
Next year.
We'll do that.
When did you know that was not feasible?
When did I know that was not feasible? It was probably mile like 85 when I think it was maybe like about 21 hours into the race already, and going at the pace that I had been going for the last 5 before that, I knew that there was no way I could make a 12-minute pace for the rest of the race. Like, I would have to pull out some big miracle for that to happen. But going from past experience, like, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. Right?
I'm always fascinated about how we troubleshoot during 100. And you mentioned earlier that at Rocky Chucky, your crew made things work. Can you talk more about that?
So the drop bags were actually on the other side of the river, which I wasn't even aware of. Like, I knew, like, I saw the sign at the...
He's mad about that too.
I know, right? I would be. I'm like, come on. Like, the location where you dropped off the drop bags the previous day, it said like Rocky Chucky far side. I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I prepped one anyway. Like, I thought it was just like far side of the aid station, so they had to like walk a little further beyond or something. But yeah, when I got to Rocky Chucky, like luckily I had packed something extra, so I had everything I needed, and like some extras in my drop bag that were optional, like that I didn't need. So yeah, it actually kind of worked out for sure. Like, I'm just lucky I packed that extra, the extra like bags of scratch and Roctane, and my crew handled it for me, and they did what I had intended to do.
You mean it was in your pack?
No, I had it with them. Like, they had the materials. Yeah.
And so did they meet you somewhere? Or?
They met me at the Rocky Chucky aid station before
okay,
the river
so they
crossing.
were there. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Just the drop bag was on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I didn't realize that was happening.
Wait, to be clear though, or you could drop it in 2 different spots around each other. There's a near side and far side.
I didn't see a near side sign. I don't know. Maybe I missed that one. I should have paid more attention to that. So that was my bad.
It'll work out. Next year.
Next year.
Next time I'll know.
Did you see Gordy Ainsley out there? And if you did, was he wearing a shirt?
Yes and yes. I saw Gordy out there and he was clothed. He was under a tent, so maybe that's why. I forgot which aid station he was at.
doing massage at Rocky Chuggy.
Forest Hill.
He was in massage.
He was at Forest Hill?
Picture of you
He was
and-
at all of them.
No, he was
Picture
at
of you and Gordy at Forest Hill.
he was at one earlier than Forest Hill.
Oh, he
Like,
was everywhere.
somewhere between Robinson Flat and Forest and Michigan Bluff for sure. I remember seeing him because I remember I said his name because he had gotten me water or something.
He was unclothed when I saw him.
That was just for you, David.
Where's the sun now?
Right, Oscar.
So you have done a few hundreds before state.
Uh-huh.
You have never had crew or pacers before,
Correct.
and you had it this time.
Yes.
What do you think is a big difference? What is the difference between having everything laid out, pacers, crew, and not having it?
I think it just makes the transition process faster, like getting things that I need to keep moving, like that was definitely more sped up than if I had to do it myself. Yeah. By like maybe, I don't know, like a few minutes, but like those few minutes do count
Few
sometimes.
seconds, you were in and out like 20 seconds.
That's kind of what it felt like.
So your crew, in addition to the team shirts that they have, I think a lot of people noticed that they were wearing these really kind of skimpy looking, a little risky looking jean shorts. Was that your idea, one? And or what's the story? Because I've heard a few different stories.
So I had no idea, I had absolutely no idea that they were gonna do anything like that. That was all like behind the scenes, like I had, like, that was probably like the best kept secret ever.
But
So-
why did we wear them? Because
I don't
you
know why
often
you.
wear them.
Tell the truth, tell the truth.
If you've seen some of my other races, you probably know why.
I'd like to point out that there are a lot of those shorts in the crowd right now.
Yes.
Some of our viewers would like to see those. You can make it happen at the end.
There you go.
I'm wearing,
She's actually wearing real shorts.
I had no idea. I think I subconsciously knew.
There you go.
Yeah,
It was in the air.
it was in the air.
I have a question.
Yep.
So there were a lot more aid stations this year that were not crew accessible.
Yes.
Because the road to the far side was not accessible. So just curious, like, we always hear such good stories about the volunteers, and there's a lot of, famous former runners or longtime supporters of Western states that usually come out to the aid stations. So curious how your experience was at any of them, if there was anyone that in particular where you got a lot of help that you needed it. Just how that went for you.
First and foremost, the volunteers were phenomenal. Like everybody else was saying before the race, like you probably don't need a crew. Like they will help you, get you what you need, and be out of there. And like there were so many at like each aid station. It was just super awesome. I would say when I got my left knee taped up, I forgot which mile that was. I want to say it was like mile 85 or 90, one of those. That was probably the most instrumental part because I wanted something to try to alleviate the pain and I wasn't sure if I was allowed to do that. So yeah, I got my knee taped up there and then at Pointed Rocks, I think it was at Pointed Rocks, like they gave me some BioFreeze menthol cream and for some reason like the cream was like kind of frozen, so they like dropped it on the ground. They dropped like a few drops on the ground the first few times, and then like the fourth time around it actually got it like on my knee and like kind of calmed and cooled it down a little bit there. So like the med team out there was just super phenomenal. Yeah. Rodney.
So you're also a badass multiple Ironman triathlete.
Oh, we're tipping into the try?
It's okay, it's okay.
We'll allow it.
Do you have any strongly held philosophies on training when you're trying to context switch between run ultras and training for Ironmans?
Do I have it, like, do I focus on like one more than the other, or what?
Right. Do you use one as a pivot to actually kind of get your fitness up, or?
I would say they kind of go hand in hand, because swimming and riding are basically really good sports for cross training, and they've also helped me build fitness. Swimming actually helped me rebuild my fitness coming back from the injury, because like I couldn't do anything high impact, and the pool was the best way to try to rebuild that fitness, especially with a race like States with all the climbing. So that actually helped a lot with like the hills too, because like when you're in the pool, you're not breathing as often. Cycling also like less impact. I know that if I try to do too much running, like that's gonna wreck me, so I'll substitute in some riding and some swimming too, just to one, like build that bike fitness, and two, like just keep the running fitness up there. So, but then like if I'm specifically focusing on a triathlon, I definitely do like more riding, more swimming, miles on the feet, not so much, but I'll still like put some miles in running for sure. Yeah.
Which Ironmans have you done?
I've done Arizona twice. Arizona was actually my first one in 2016. I've done Arizona twice. I've done Santa Rosa twice. I've done Boulder. And most recently, last year I did Lake Placid and the one in Sacramento.
I think I'm understanding this machine nickname. I think it's starting to make sense.
Yeah. John.
What are we looking forward to the rest of the year as far as events for you?
I don't know yet. I literally have not signed up for anything yet. So I'll take my time to recover, see how I feel, and maybe I'll throw a triathlon in there. And probably Quad Dipseas too, I don't know. There's plenty of time.
Defend your double bastards later.
Yeah. Ace.
So you've done States, Pine to Palm, like what other 100 are you eyeing up next?
Next? I don't know. Actually, before getting into States, I wasn't even sure I wanted to do another 100. Like after Pine to Palm, I was just like so wrecked and mentally and physically that I was like, I'll just do 100K to get my qualifier. And then bam, I get into States. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing 100. But I don't know, maybe like the Javelina 100, or might, if I really feel like I want to scratch the itch, I'll maybe Rio del Lago, try to get some redemption there. But yeah, nothing planned yet. Jesse.
So I remember it was last year, the beginning of last year, and you were like, I was like, what race are you doing? And you're like, well, I haven't really told anyone. And you told me, and I remember I had to write it down on paper because there were so many. So 2022 was when you replicated 2018, like in the beginning part of the year. So I was wondering if you could just share with us what the races were that you did kind of all within a month or two.
For 2022?
Yeah, didn't it start, it was like, did you do Muck, Boston?
So
Like that?
I started with the Sean O'Brien 100K in February. I did Way Too Cool in March, and also Marine Ultra Challenge 50 mile. And then April, I did 70.3 Oceanside early April. Week after that, I did Lake Sonoma 50 mile. And 9 days after that, I did Boston. 5 days after Boston, I did Canyons 100K. And then there was like a maybe like a 3-month gap where there was nothing in between there, and then that was Lake Placid, the full Ironman. And then after that was Pine to Palm in September. And Ironman California was a month after that, so like 6 weeks after Pine to Palm, so like late October. And rounded out the end of the year with Quad Dipseas and CIM.
Now you see why we call Max the
No,
machine.
but I'm also thinking
And he
like,
did well at all of them.
like,
Crazy.
have you been
Yeah.
studying? Can we, not for like, can we get you into a lab to understand how it takes to do all this?
I almost considered going into the cardiovascular study they had at States, but I was like, maybe not.
That's impressive. I mean, there's, in the road running world, it's like a huge deal if you just run Boston and Big Sur, which are 1 week apart. They're 2 road races. So you did, I think you created a whole new challenge,
Yeah.
which is Boston to 100K?
Canyons?
What is
Well,
that?
then you
What
did
is
the
happening?
you did a 50 miler. Yeah,
But there's
you did-
the, there, 9 days before Boston, you did a 50 miler, right?
Yeah. Actually, 4 years before that, Lake Sonoma and Boston were only 2 days apart.
But Boston was easy. It's just like I take a shower in 30 minutes, and you know, like it's like 3.5 hours. It's like nothing, right?
It's nothing if it's not 39 degrees and raining and windy.
Oh,
that year. Oh, that year.
Yeah, that year. I did that year. I did not finish that year.
Oh.
Yeah.
He swept the courses also.
You swam the
As a
course.
trainer.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
It's so cold I couldn't even swim the course.
And sweep the course as a training for the next round.
Which one was this? What?
After like Burn Ultra Challenge, you
Oh.
like swept the courses after you were done. Yeah.
I did like a 7-mile loop hike, so yeah. Yeah, just to get some blood flow.
Yeah.
Hey, Max.
The legs going.
John.
It's so impressive. That's why the first time I met Max and Rodney training for triathlon, we were riding this hilly ride that I didn't realize we already ran the same number of miles that day. But then I was thinking like, you're
I'm like, when was
going
this?
to Western States next year and you know your credentials and you do so much racing and all this and you're solid. Do you think you'll continue that with your knee issues and things like those? Like back-to-back races or maybe not?
If I get healthy enough again, probably. I mean, because the years that I did do like back-to-back races, like the only thing that happened afterwards was just like a lot of soreness. But I don't know. Give me another 4 years and I might think about that again.
Just make sure you do physical therapy on both sides.
Yeah, I'll make sure to like do my strength training for sure. Yeah. Right.
So what advice would you give to the ultra curious, for those who are new?
I love that.
Ultra curious.
It's gonna be on my
What
Instagram
advice?
bio.
There you go.
Ultra curious.
What advice would I give? You can definitely do it. It is not impossible. Like you've seen so many hundreds of other people do 50Ks, 50-mile, 100K, this race, other 100-milers, and they've all finished like in that like broad time range of like whatever the cutoff is. And even those that didn't finish, like something happened through the day or they weren't trained for it or whatever other factor they were dealing with, like they're still part of that. They're still part of the community, the ultra running community. So yeah, just build your fitness, enjoy the journey. Don't worry too much about like if you want to chase a time goal, like great, like that's definitely great if you have the fitness for it, for sure. But on the other side though, you do have to put some work in. Like you do have to put in like some strength training as like I mean, nobody in this room is like 20 years old, so everyone's getting older. And the older you get, the more muscle you're gonna lose. So if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it, for sure. So definitely get the strength training in to make sure like you're healthy enough to deal with whatever terrain you're racing for. Yeah, and just be smart about that, be smart about recovery. Like, don't use me as an example, I'm a terrible example. But if you want to pull off like those back-to-back races, like me or Chris Jones or whoever does these crazy things, like, it's definitely possible. Like, it will work, you will make it work.
Yeah.
You just have that mindset.
And find a SFRC, join a race here, join a team run, a group run,
There we go.
a short ride, a Saturday run.
Saturday runs, Tuesday runs.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we have time for one more question, and then we're gonna wrap up.
I just had a question. Is there like, do you have a goal? Is there an end to this, or are you just gonna keep running? Do you want to do like, do you have a goal of like 500 milers or whatever, and then you'd be like, okay, I'm done with the hundreds, or is there like a, or you just want to keep doing it?
I'll do this as long as I can. I'll do this till I die, hopefully. Hopefully I'll die of old age and keep doing it till I'm at least like 75 or 80, like some of the folks out there this weekend. Yeah, as long as I can, as long as my legs will allow me. If I need like amputation and get a new leg, I'll probably still try to do it anyway.
Nothing stopping.
Put on a false leg, whatever.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Terminator. Then we can have Terminator shirts made. You're like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's when the machine part will come in.
Yeah. All right, Max. So let's end with some fun rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm down.
What is your favorite trail in the Bay Area?
I was like Marissa knows the answer to that question. The Queenstone Fire Road on Big Rock Ridge in Santa Fe.
If you could go on a long run with anyone, who would it be?
Gosh, one?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, pick a favorite.
It doesn't have to be someone in this room.
Never do ever again. It's just maybe it's someone that isn't a runner.
It could even be a triathlete.
Probably hobby.
Oh. That's a good answer. And my last favorite question, burger, burrito, or pizza?
Is this for after a race or after a run?
Whenever. It could be during.
During breakfast.
Pho.
Okay. Fourth category.
But probably burger.
Okay, okay.
If I had to pick one of those choices, yeah.
Well, Max, we are so honored that you shared your story with us. It was amazing watching the updates from your crew. You are such a valuable member of this community, and we're honored to hear your story, and we look forward to seeing you at dozens of races, hundreds, thousands. But keep it up and keep inspiring the rest of us to do the same.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And actually, I wanted to do a final shout out to my crew that states. Like,
Let's get him
you
up
guys
here.
are
Come
so
on.
Rodney, take those pants off. Let's see
Oscar, those ones are too long.
Yeah.
you guys come on the other side.
Almost can't get dancing.
Maybe you should come here. You wouldn't.
Yeah, you're wearing jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carolyn, got her jean shorts.
Alright,
Hey,
pass that
let's
up.
go.
Ace, come on. You got shirts on.
Come on, Ace.
Ace, come on. George.
I know, right? Son of a